Go to the grocery store, son, Michael's mother said hoarsely. Michael sat with her as they looked for a good caregiver. His mother had recently suffered a stroke, but fortunately the doctors were able to save her in time. However, the stroke did not come without consequences. Her legs and right arm were paralyzed. That's why Michael came to stay with her right after she was discharged from the hospital and stayed for a couple of days. Michael got up from his chair, took the keys from the car, and headed to the nearest store. It was twilight outside when he arrived at the 24-hour convenience store. There were hardly any people there, just one guy in a hoodie standing at the canned food section and inspecting something. Michael grabbed a basket, quickly picked up the groceries listed on the note, and headed towards the checkout. As soon as he emerged from behind the shelf, he saw the same guy in the hoodie standing at the checkout with a gun in his hand, aiming at the cashier. The cashier frantically took out money from the register. When the robber turned his head, he saw Michael, and apparently due to his inexperience, got scared. As a result, his finger involuntarily pulled the trigger. The cashier fell dead on the white tiles. The robber recoiled from surprise, then regained his composure and fled, forgetting to take even his loot. Michael stood there with his eyes wide open, not entirely understanding that he had witnessed a crime. The poor guy's brains were blown out, apparently by a large-caliber gun. The entire counter was covered in blood, which continued to spread on the floor. When Michael came to his senses, he quickly took out his phone and called 911. The arriving police officers took Michael's testimony and cordoned off the area around the store to gather all necessary evidence. An officer took Michael's signature and said that he would have to come to the station tomorrow. Michael came home without any groceries. He decided not to upset his mother with this incident and simply said that his car broke down and he somehow managed to get home at a very slow speed. Michael promised his mother to go to the store tomorrow. Michael had nightmares all night, waking up more than 5 times. Cold sweat ran down his forehead. With the first rays of the sun, he woke up again. The last nightmare was the scariest. He was talking to the dead cashier. He was covered in blood with a hole in his forehead. He kept repeating the same words over and over again. Why did you appear? I died because of you. As soon as Michael got out of bed, he passed by his mother's room. She was still asleep. He decided to go to the store to finally buy some groceries and have breakfast, since he had to go to the police station at noon. Heading towards the store, Michael was completely immersed in his thoughts about yesterday. I'm really guilty. If I hadn't gone out, the salesman would still be alive, Michael nervously thought to himself. Stopping at the supermarket, he got out of the car and headed towards the entrance. Gathering the items from his list, he headed towards the checkout. As he walked through the aisles, it seemed like all the people had disappeared. Only one checkout, number 3, was open, and as he approached it, his basket fell out of his hand. The salesman was sitting behind it. He shouted in a demonic voice, "It's your fault!" After the scream, the man, or rather the monster, jumped up from his chair. His body started to contort and twist in all directions. Michael realized that he had only one way out, to try to run to the doors. He ran as fast as he could, past the thrashing salesman, but alas, the doors were locked. The creature leapt over the conveyor belt counter. Michael decided to stand his ground and fight back against the monster. He saw a home tools counter on his left and ran towards it. When he got there, he grabbed a small camping axe and threw it with all his might at the monster. The creature's head split in 2. Michael grabbed a hammer, ran towards the writhing monster, and began hitting it in all parts of its body. He emerged victorious from the battle. He thought that the monster would not give up so easily. Michael broke the store window and quickly jumped into his car. He had completely forgotten about going to the police station. He headed home. A traffic light at one of the intersections was red, and Michael was forced to stop. The streets he drove through were completely empty. While he was waiting at the red light, a head split in 2 appeared from behind a pole. The creature crawled on all 4s straight towards Michael's car. He pressed the gas pedal to the floor and ran over the monster. He flew home without stopping. When he ran into the house, he started calling for his mother, but there was no answer. When he entered her room, he saw that she was still asleep. She was facing the wall, and he could only see her back. He circled the bed, and then saw the face of the monster instead of his mother's face. He grabbed a figurine from the nightstand and began beating the creature with it. Once again, he emerged victorious. Michael ran out of the room. His legs were tangled, his hands were shaking. and his thoughts were jumbled. He stumbled over the corner of the rug, which was folded, and fell to the floor, hitting his head on the oak dining table. "Michael, do you understand how you got here?" said an unknown person in a white coat monotonously. "Who are you and where is my mother?" Michael shouted at him. "You don't understand. While you're asking questions, the monster with the split head could be in this room at any moment. It's looking for me and it will find me. Give me a weapon," Michael muttered incoherently. The unknown person continued. "Michael, your psyche has been severely affected by witnessing the murder in the store. But unfortunately, reality is not at all as you describe it. There are no monsters here." The man handed Michael a laptop. "Watch this recording." The video on the recording was from the supermarket surveillance camera, showing Michael grabbing an axe and throwing it at the salesman's head in the middle of the crowded store. He then smashed the window and ran out. The next recording shown to Michael was from the intersection. It showed a woman starting to cross the road on a green light, but suddenly being hit by a white SUV. For a split second, Michael realized what was happening, but his mind refused to accept it. Accepting it would mean that Michael had also killed his own mother. He screamed hysterically, "You're trying to deceive me. This is evil, devilish. This can't be real." The room was entered by orderlies who took Michael away. The psychiatrist closed the laptop, put it in his bag and left the room. Dozens of patients with similar diagnoses come here every day, all of them people who have lost their minds.